My boyfriend keeps hanging out with a girl he has feelings for. He said he's been trying to get over her since before me, and that he thinks that if he keeps trying, it'll go away. I told him it doesn't work like that, especially if we've already been dating for 10 years, and he was already trying to drop his feelings for her before he met me. I feel like he's lying, and he truly just wants to keep his connection to her. He left to go hang out with her at 9, and now it's almost 4 in the morning for me. He told me it wouldn't come to this, and he wouldn't be out this long. He doesn't have a phone, so if I want to message him, I basically have to message her. He also refused to let me come along, even though her and I get along amazingly. She has made it clear she is not interested and already has a girlfriend. I have started packing my things because he hypothetically asked me what would happen if he didn't come home tonight before he went out. I don't feel that there is anything left for me here. I made it clear that I don't think what he's doing is good for our relationship, but he went anyway. All he can ever say is that it's not his intention to hurt me. I keep having to remind him that the intent doesn't matter if you knew the outcome would be hurting me. I need some help, support, and an exit plan. And now in the comments, he still thinks he has a chance with her, but is stringing you along as a backup. The second she actually wants to go out with him, he will flat out dump you on the spot. You are better leaving him because this isn't a healthy relationship. And OP replies, this is exactly what I've been thinking about. It's all based on her. If she moves, he will, regardless of what we've built together. Yes, you have no future with him because he doesn't want you, sorry to say. Until he can get his head out of his ass and realize she doesn't want him, he can't have healthy relationships. And OP says, I mentioned that to him as well, that this will continuously be a cycle unless he chooses to break it himself. All he cares about is staying close to her, even if it means they can only be friends. Welp, back to packing. Did you say 10 years? As in you have been dating for 10 years and he still has a thing for her? No, ma'am. You are an absolute saint for having the patience to deal with this for as long as you have. You have tried your best, done your due diligence, and if he still doesn't get it, he needs to get gone. Why the hell are you packing your things to leave the house that you pay for? Avid gamer without a solid income stream enough to pay for internet? Nope. You should be packing his things. Pile it up and leave it all in the living room for him to see when he gets home, with a nice note on top saying, I can't force you to stay, so now you are free. I wish you happiness and to live your best life, best wishes. Then lock yourself in your bedroom and let him figure it out. Your space is exactly that, yours. He is the one who screwed it up. He is the one to disrespect your feelings and your relationship, and he is the one that needs to figure out where he is going to go and live. Stop being his carpet. If you are leaving because you feel guilty he doesn't have a place to stay, stop. That's just another concession on your part. If he can't take care of himself or his life and obligations, that's entirely on him, and he needs to grow up. I'm sorry you've wasted your time on this guy. You honestly sound like a wonderful, caring, and supportive girlfriend. But it's time to take off the kid gloves and make a stand. You aren't going to force him to stay, but girl, you absolutely should force him to leave. Someone better will come along, and you absolutely deserve better. Good luck. And OP replies, sadly, we are renting under his family. I don't know how they would feel about that, although packing his things would be much easier. Lol, I hate that I've wasted my time too. Literally everything of what you said is very similar to the conversation I tried to have with him before he left. He just kept pushing that he wasn't trying to hurt me, and that that's not what it's about, but of course he can never say. Yes, 10 years, and I am very hurt over it. I put my entire being into this boy, and all I got was a lesson in never letting someone take away my independence again. I was completely independent before meeting him. He had me quit my job and move in. The rest should have been good history, but sadly I'm here. He keeps saying he loves me over and over, and then walks out the door to hang out with a girl that he has feelings for 6+ hours. You can ask yourself one question, and probably figure out what you should do here. If the next time they hang out, she professes her love for him and asks him to sleep with her right now and be with her from now on, what do you think he would do? If you answer that question, and you don't have to answer it here, you probably have the answer to what you should do next without second-guessing yourself. And OP replies, I was afraid of that, but it is what it is. He told me I could force him to stay, but had I done that, I would have been stuck with him while he was sulked, wishing and crying about how he wants to hang out with her. He has done it many times, even recently. The more direct advice is that he sounds like an ass. You don't want to live second fiddle to some woman he wants a relationship with, and secondly, isn't even interested in a relationship with him, which is even worse for him. Maybe after this blows over, you and this girl can be friends, since you guys are buds anyway. Maybe she doesn't like this crap that he's doing any more than you do. If she's a decent person, she probably hates the idea that he's doing this to you. And now, on to the update. So, I went to sleep and woke up to him cuddling me, which was very upsetting, especially after the night that I've had. He came home around 5 AM, a time he told me was only hypothetical and wouldn't really happen. We had a talk where I made it very clear that if this is how he loves me, then it's not the love I want anymore. He didn't want to tell me anything at all and just kept saying, I don't know, to every question I asked him. But if the situation was swapped, he would need every detail. Matter of fact, I wouldn't have even been able to go. I packed the bulk of my belongings and have hidden them in easy-to-grab places. I've got 4 days left of my college course before I take my certification exam. I'm very glad he stayed out all night because I have never felt this much love for myself since before meeting him. He knocked me down so many pegs that I forgot how much I was actually worth and was willingly taking scraps of love. This isn't even the worst that he's done, and we should have been over a long time ago. I hate that I'm just fully realizing it now, but I'm glad I did it at all. It hurts, but not as bad as staying as someone's second choice. He probably won't even remember the conversation, as he never does, but I'm done explaining it over and over again. The plan is to stick it out until the end of the week, take my certification exam, pack up all my stuff, and leave in the middle of the night. My sister lives in another city and already has a place for me to stay. Luckily, my mother is in town as well and plans on staying until I'm ready. I'm letting him keep his gifts because once I'm gone, he won't have internet until he gets it himself. It's getting turned off and moved to where I'm going. I will also be taking his cell phone off my contract. I really didn't understand how much I pay for his life until I started disconnecting and removing everything a piece at a time. I just did it because I love him and wanted him to be taken care of. The time he spent gone last night was everything I needed to get my life together. He knows the best ways to guilt trip me, especially after going to counseling. I'm not going to keep doing this fight, and I'm the only one actually making progress. I have held him up and backed him up on so many things in his life, I never expected to get to this point. Thank you to everyone who helped talk things out with me. I was so distraught that I couldn't even think or move. Definitely made it easier to keep pushing on. Everything is packed, but my little library and PC set up. I don't even think he noticed when he came back, and I'm sure he'll be asleep all day. Doing a once-over and finishing packing, my mother will be back later on to pick a few things up at a time under the premise of just wanting to see her daughter. Mum is with the plan, and I am loving it. For those of you who believe that we could have worked things out, we could have, but that takes the both of us being willing to do that, not just me. This isn't even everything, my guys. I know it may feel like attack on men to you, but if I told you everything, you wouldn't feel that way. Trust me. I wanted it to work out too, but he has made it very clear that he would drop me if it meant keeping her, even as just a friend. If for any reason she told him they can't be friends because of me, I would be a hot potato, dropped and on the floor, guts everywhere. Just kidding, but you get the picture. I hope everyone has a wonderful day. I feel like I'm finally about to get everything that I've ever wanted and needed, and I hope you do too. And now in the comments, quote, he knows the best ways to guilt trip me, especially after going to counseling. This is why it's not advised to go to counseling with your abuser, which, make no mistake, he is. I'm proud of you, and you should be excited for your future. Pour all of your love into yourself because you deserve it. Also, those gifts sound like he's just a common thief committing credit card fraud. I hope you realize you are way too good for this creep. Do you think you could elaborate on why it's bad to go to counseling with an abuser? I've heard that often, but I've always had trouble understanding why. With a therapist to act as a mediator, surely it would be more helpful than facing the abuser alone. I know there must be details I'm missing, hence my confusion. Because, as OP notes, it gives them tools to manipulate you and the therapist. I'm on mobile, but if you Google therapy with your abuser, there are articles that go more in depth as to why it is a very bad idea. It basically teaches them new tricks to use against you. They can also manipulate some therapists. Abusers don't go to couples counseling and admit they are wrong, they continue to lie and gaslight. If you are being abused, go to individual counseling. Most abusers never stop, but some can benefit from individual therapy too. The creep factor amplified for me when OP stated the woman already had a girlfriend, and yet still her ex-boyfriend kept trying. Seriously? And then to see it had been 10 years of this man-child abusing their relationship, stringing OP along as a backup cash cow, fuck that dude. Like, what a man. He can be a pain to 3 women at once. Seriously, the woman he is after told him and OP she is not interested and has a girlfriend. She's not even available. Those guys are the worst. The I will persist, talk crap about how much better I am than their current partner, and when their relationship, that I don't acknowledge, fails, they will remember how much I did for them. Romantic movie style creeping. He's as much of an ass to the woman he's after, and her girlfriend, as he was to his ex. He ignores her wishes and boundaries as well. Our next post is titled, "Is this a scam, or is this person genuinely trying to give me closure on my brother?" So, me and my brother are around the same age of 26, and I'm in Mississippi. He had moved out one day at the age of 22, and quite literally disappeared. He never would answer phone calls, text back, and I think his phone number was changed from what it seemed like. We had went 10 years without knowing where he went, or what had happened to him. Obviously, it made me, his sister, and our mum very upset. At times, we considered the possibility that he died, and we won't ever see him again, and that sucked. Literally, nobody was ever able to find him or find a way to contact him. One day, I get a random call from out of the state, and I didn't think anything of it. I get these kinds of phone calls a lot, so I just ignored it. I got a voicemail and I figured I'd listen to it. Basically, it was this random girl saying, "Hey, OP, I'd imagine you'd want to know what happened to your brother, right? It's extremely important, so whenever you have the chance, please call back." I obviously got extremely worried, so I called her back instantly. I was more wanting to know what happened to my brother, so I just asked her a bunch of questions, such as if I'll ever be able to see him again, and how she even knew me to begin with. She didn't even answer, and got really defensive, saying, "We need to schedule a time to meet in person, anywhere you feel comfortable. Trust me, please, when I say it will all come together and I will answer everything." Whenever I asked her who she was and how she knew my brother and I even asked her to send pictures of herself and asked if we could video call so at least I know I'm talking to a real person and not trying to have someone rob me and using my missing brother as leverage or something. She sent some pictures and said she was more than happy to video call, gave me her Skype, and we had roughly the same convo over video call when we first talked. She just kept insisting we meet in person, saying that she would be driving from her state to come here. I literally just asked, "Will my brother be with you?" And she just said, "It's complicated." Like, WTF does that mean? This person is so vague. Like, is this a scam? I know sometimes robbing scams use girls or some other lure. I just don't know if I should trust them. From what people have said in the post before it got removed, it makes me feel like I should meet them, but I'm wary about if this could be a scam, as I always want to be extra safe. Now in the comments, it's good to hold on to a certain level of skepticism, but nothing here screams scam. Meet somewhere public and walk away as soon as they ask for money. And absolutely understand that just because you met at a busy Starbucks or the frickin' police station, they can still follow you home. Don't meet them if it gets too dark. It'll make it harder to notice a car tailing you, and don't drive straight home after meeting them. Solid advice. If you are really worried, I would say to have a friend pick you up and drop you off somewhere else, or call an Uber, so they don't know what you drive, and have them pick you up and drop you off at a mall. You can park at the mall and take Uber or your friend to go meet them, and then have them drop you back off at the mall at the opposite end of where you parked. Walk inside only to the side where you were parked at. There aren't really legal aspects to this, but generally, this doesn't seem like a scam to me. If she starts asking for money for information, sure, that sounds like a scam, but it doesn't seem like that has happened so far. It could be that this is a difficult conversation and they want to do it in person. It could be that they know where your brother is and it's not good. Like he's in jail, he's in hiding, he's in the hospital, he passed away. It could be that she has a connection to your brother, like she has his kid, etc. Or it could be, as someone above pointed out, that she is your brother who transitioned over 4 years and wants to reconnect in person. I would think you could tell on Skype, but maybe not if it's been that long. There are lots of reasons to want to talk in person. Just have your guard up about anything scammy, mostly asking for money. Otherwise, there's generally nothing to worry about, simply meeting someone in person in a public place. And now, on to the update. Sorry it took so long. Lately everything has been very exhausting. I figured I'd take a break and just mentally unwind, but I also figured I'd post an update for people. First things first, yes, we are twins, and yes, this is a throwaway, because I'm not going to be posting any identifying information for me or anybody else. Anyways, here's what happened. It may be long, but whatever. Well, that was an experience. We met up at a local Walmart and sat in one of the mini restaurants that they have. I went there alone, but I was oddly at ease and no longer worried, especially since this person was so open and said that any place was fine. I did make sure I went early so I could just check the people who were coming in. So I sit down at a table, text that person that I'm there at the scheduled time and place, and what I'm wearing and all that, and I just wait. It felt like I was waiting forever. They texted me saying they might be a bit late due to traffic according to their GPS. I think I closed my eyes and just rested for a bit. I don't know, I was so drained. Eventually, I opened my eyes to someone saying, "Hey, you're so-and-so, right?" And I reply with, "Yes." They sit down in front of me, and I could tell they were about to say something, but I instantly was just like, "Why didn't you tell me?" At this point, I figured this person really was my sibling like y'all said. It made sense. I had completely forgotten about this, but they once told me when they were an early teenager that they wished they were a girl. But when I remembered that, it genuinely did just click, and I just intuitively felt a sense of ease while I sat there, resting, gathering my thoughts. At first, she just sat there for a bit and she was like, "What do you mean?" And I just simply was like, "You're my sister, aren't you?" I went on to add, "You really have been transgender this whole time. Why didn't you tell anybody?" She started trying to hold back her tears, but I could tell she was about to cry. At this point, I just felt mostly at ease, and I offered to get up and go for a walk around the area. She accepted, and we started walking out the store and around. I offered to walk to a nearby park or a library, but we just kind of started walking in silence for a while. Anyway, I eventually broke the silence and asked her again, and she just said she was ashamed and hated that she was trans. She said she didn't want to be seen going through the awkward transition phase, and she said she couldn't explain why, but she just felt more comfortable going away. She kept saying she hated being trans, but whenever I asked her why, she just said she didn't know. She said she felt especially conflicted because she and I didn't have such a good upbringing, and she always wonders if the reason she felt that way about herself was to distance herself from her past. The whole walk around the store, she was just crying and holding on to me. She said over and over how she hated that she was trans. She told me she would obsess over passing, which she explained to me, because she felt so ashamed and disgusted with herself. She said she was embarrassed to mention the amount of money it cost to transform herself in any way possible. I kept asking her why she thought to be embarrassed, and she just said she wasn't sure if she was mentally ill or not. She just said that the urge to do those things was as compulsive and necessary to scratch an itch, so she did it regardless. Keep in mind, I've never really been into the LGBT community at all. Me and my family are pretty conservative, and while we aren't going to go around murdering transgender people, we just weren't so keen on it. I'll admit that if she had came out to me earlier before, I would have probably dismissed it. But right now, I look at this person and just see a girl, and no matter what I do, intuitively, that's what I see. I can't help but not say what they are, even though they weren't born that way. It was very conflicting because this was my brother, but in every single damn way that I could tell, this was a girl, and it's hard to call someone a he when they are so girl. Anyway, I hugged her, and we walked back to the restaurant and get something to eat, and I offered to pay for her meal too, and she nodded. We have small talk from then on, and she randomly interrupts with, "So I am your sister, right?" And those thoughts came back. I just couldn't help but say, "Of course," because that's all I saw. I decided it'd be fun to give my mum a call with her, and it didn't go so well. My mother went berserk and was talking about how she messed up raising children. We basically hung up before it got too loud and awkward in there. I would have called our dad, but we never talked to him because of how horrible he was. At this point, my sister just kind of shrugged and said, "That's what I mean. Maybe I'm this way because of my upbringing. Either way, I feel better now." While we were eating, I could definitely tell that it was my sibling. Just the small things you notice, like how they chew, or how they move, or their overall way of how they just go. We started making small talk again, and I thought back to my earlier thought about me being maybe against it, and I kind of realized now that this person was just normal. They didn't seem so mentally ill as they said they were. I mean, they just seemed so normal. I had even made some random little joke, and she just giggled. But I've never seen my sibling giggle in such a pure and innocent way before. They were just very reclusive and quiet before then, but while we were talking, and when the mood was lifted, that's the first time I've seen them smile in, well, I don't even know. And it was like a genuine smile. Just a normal, genuine smile, and that really made me feel something that I couldn't explain. It just was odd. I've never really talked to a trans person before, and I was just surprised at how normal they were, as horrible as that may sound. There is such a big stigma towards it that I was expecting a lot worse than all that. We were eventually having a really good convo, but it got to the point where I needed to go, and I stayed a bit longer already. I had asked her where the hell she was staying though. She said she was staying with a friend who lived a couple of states away, and she was okay. We were walking out, and she just clinged to me. I figured she was just feeling some sort of way, so I just told her that it's okay that she's transgender, and before I could even finish my sentence, she just looked at me and just said something along the lines of, "I appreciate that, but please, you know I hate being trans. Don't call me that. I went through hell trying to distance myself from being trans, and I want nothing to do with that community. I feel so much shame and guilt." I said, "Okay, sorry, you're right. You're a girl. I know you are." She said thanks, and we just hugged for a long time. Eventually, I got the courage to let go, and I just had to force myself to walk off to my car, drive to my place, and sleep. I was feeling exhausted again, but in a content way. I texted my sister goodnight, and I realized I didn't even get her name through the whole catching up thing. Her name is Layla. Yay! So I said, "Good night, Layla." And now we talk daily because I'll be damned if I let this connection fade again. And now in the comments, I kind of get just wanting to be a girl and not focus on being trans as an identity, but the level of self-loathing isn't healthy at all. The parents messed her up, and I hope she gets therapy. Not all trans folk need to be out and proud, but hating yourself and hating the word as a descriptor is definitely not mentally healthy. I grew up religious and definitely went through a period of self-loathing and grieving as I came to terms with being a lesbian. For the longest time, I hated the word lesbian, but could tolerate calling myself gay. I think I associated the word lesbian with pornos and biker chicks in leathers. Years later, it is much better. All the stigmas that exist externally in society are 10 times worse internally, but everyone comes around eventually. I'm feeling so bad for OP and Layla, who obviously have deep issues due to their upbringing. Layla probably did the right thing moving away though, cutting herself off from her unaccepting parents, and OP also admits it was easier for her to accept Layla's transition because she waited until it was complete to contact her again. Her sister needs so much therapy. Her self-loathing is scary to me. To go through everything to transition and still to hate oneself is terrifying. I hope it's more that she just wants to be a girl and not a trans girl, you know? Like, it's such a loaded thing, and she just wants to exist without having her identity be more than what it is. I completely get that, and I can't fault anyone for feeling that way. Sometimes people aren't given a choice, and who they are is so wrapped up in a political identity that it's almost inescapable. She is able to literally be a woman, so why should she have to put any qualifiers around that? She's a woman, full stop. Disliking or distancing herself from the trans label might not be as unhealthy as people think, and the trans community isn't a paragon of health either. There is a lot of self-loathing and toxicity there too, like probably any community to be honest. I am so glad that these two are connecting again and have found each other, but it's so sad to read how the way that they've been raised has poisoned them both against the LGBT community. Like OP said, they are just normal people living their lives, but they both seem to expect a certain kind of person when they think of a trans or LGBT individual. I'm sad that their natural reaction towards it is hatred and disapproval when OP freely admits that she has never been around LGBT spaces and so easily accepts her sister. Alright, and that's where I'm going to leave today's episode, guys. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, let me know what you thought of it down in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.